It was a stormy evening, one of those nights when the icy wind seems to split the skin and the snow falls incessantly, enveloping everything in a white blanket. The rain mixed with the snowflakes, creating a crystalline dance, while the hurried passers-by sought shelter from the biting cold. Among them, no one noticed the old lady walking slowly along the sidewalk, almost invisible, swallowed up by the fury of the storm. Her coat, old and carefully patched, was too light to protect her adequately from the biting cold. The icy raindrops mixed with the snowflakes and slid down her wrinkled cheeks, tracing furrows of sadness and fatigue. Her boots, worn and tattered, sank into the snow with every step, leaving footprints that were soon erased by the whirlwind of wind and ice. Her shaking hands clutched a crumpled piece of paper, which the woman consulted from time to time with tired and time-weakened eyes. The scarf that covered her head, enveloping her like a cloak, gave her an air of mystery, almost unreal in that dark night. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell. After walking a few more steps, the woman stopped in front of a high-fashion boutique, its windows festively lit like beacons of unattainable luxury. Behind the glittering windows, elegant figures could be seen, immersed in the opulence of expensive clothes and jewelry proudly displayed. The boutique seemed to shine like a distant promise of happiness, unattainable for those who, like her, lived on the margins of society. People in fancy clothes got out of their luxury cars and hurried into the store, indifferent to the woman standing on the sidewalk. One of them, passing by her, muttered contemptuously, "This is not a place to beg." The old lady did not flinch, as if she was used to that kind of comment. She continued to advance, determined, not caring what others said. Driven by a courage that only life experience could give her, she opened the door of the boutique and entered. The warm air of the shop enveloped her, in contrast to the freezing cold outside. For a moment she stopped to admire the elegance of the shiny walls and the sparkling windows, a world so distant from her, yet so fascinating. She walked to the counter, where a young, impeccably dressed saleswoman stared at her with a disapproving look. "Ma'am, I think you're in the wrong place," the girl said, her voice cold and distant. Her tone was sharp, as if the woman's presence were a blemish on the perfect image of the store. "I don't think I made a mistake," the old lady replied calmly. "I have an appointment." The saleswoman stared at her in disbelief, a look of annoyance spreading across her face. "This is an exclusive shop, not a haven for people like you." The young woman's coldness hit her like a whiplash, but the woman was undaunted. "I'm not here to ask for money," she replied in a firm voice, trying to maintain her dignity. "I have money for what I need to do, and I made an appointment." Despite the clerk's disbelief, the old lady stepped forward and showed her the reservation she was holding in her hands. At that point, the annoyed girl called security. Shortly thereafter, a young man in uniform approached, and with a professional but indifferent expression, asked the woman to show him her reservation. The old lady slowly took a crumpled piece of paper from the inside pocket of her old coat and handed it to him. The young man examined the document and, to his surprise, confirmed that the reservation was valid. "Everything is in order," she said, handing the document back. "But why are you here?" At that point, the clerk intervened again, visibly irritated. "This is no place for people like you," she said, trying to shoo her back out. The woman, keeping her cool, explained, "I'm not here to buy anything. I need to speak to Mr. Andrea, the owner." Those words provoked an immediate reaction. The clerk and the guard exchanged a confused and perplexed look, but the woman's determination disarmed them. With a slow but determined step, the lady walked towards the stairs that led to the upper floor, where the owner's office was located. Her walk was tired, but full of an inner strength that seemed to guide her. When she reached the top, she opened a heavy door and found herself in a room filled with people dressed in elegant clothes. The bright lights dazzled her for a moment, and when she opened her eyes again, she noticed that many were looking at her with looks of contempt and curiosity. A man in a dark suit approached her with a cold expression. "This is not a homeless shelter," he said coldly. "Get out now." The woman closed her eyes for a moment, trying to ignore the humiliation she felt. "I'm not here to bother anyone," she replied in a calm voice. "I need to speak to Mr. Andrea." Her words caused murmurs among those present. The guard and the clerk who had followed her stepped forward, visibly embarrassed. "We will contact Mr. Andrea," the guard said in a professional voice. After a few moments, the door opened and a tall man with graying hair entered the room. His steady eyes met those of the woman, who recognized him immediately. "Andrea," the woman whispered to herself, almost not believing her eyes. "You've grown up. You look so much like your father." But the man didn't recognize her. In an authoritative tone, he turned to the guests present. "The situation is under control. Don't be alarmed." Then he turned to her, took her arm gently, and led her toward the exit. The woman, her voice trembling with emotion, looked him in the eyes. "Andrea, you didn't recognize me, did you? I'm your mother." The man stopped, incredulous. "My mother died many years ago," he replied coldly, almost annoyed. But the old lady, with all her strength, looked at him with eyes full of pain. "I'm not dead. I had to leave you when you were little. I had no choice. Life was too hard on me, but I never stopped looking for you." Andrea's face changed expression, seized by an internal conflict between anger, confusion, and disbelief. "How did you find me?" he finally asked, trying to keep his composure. The woman told him how, with the help of a benefactress, she had managed to track him down after so many years. "I just wanted to see you again and explain everything." The woman's words had a visible effect on him. His face, initially stiff, slowly softened. He looked at the woman with new eyes, almost as if seeing her for the first time. "Come," she said finally, with a faint smile. "I'll take you home. It's time to close with the past." That night, mother and son reunited, putting aside the years of distance and silence. Andrea, touched by his mother's story, decided to create a foundation in her name to help elderly women in difficulty, offering them a second chance, just as his mother had hoped for herself. Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and see you next story.